Hi everyone, welcome to the Crossed Over Celebrity channel. My name is Tina Ducharme. Thank you for being here. On this channel, I take a celebrity who has crossed over to the other side, and they help me to talk to you about certain themes or issues that they had during their life. And we'll walk through a brief soul contract diagram, pull some oracle cards, get some messages for everybody from the wonderful person that we'll be dealing with. And of course, I'm sure you know by the heading that today we're going to be talking to Heath Ledger, a very young man, crossed over at the age of 28. His last film, The Dark Knight, where he played the Joker, he never did get to finish. And so the issue that we're going to be discussing with Heath, bringing him through, is talking about the issues with the overthinking, as he struggled very much with not being able to sleep and not being able to shut down. And so we'll talk a little bit about his past, what some of his traumas were, what we can do to, if we're having those similar struggles in our lives, and what we can do about those struggles. So I am going to share my screen and bring up Heath Ledger's soul contract. And there he is, such a handsome man. Let me grab the little bit of detail on his background here. Just wanted to pull that up on my other screen. And so yeah, he died at the age of 28, like I said. He would have been 42 had he still been alive. He was an Aries, so he was all about action, right? And I think for what he accomplished at his young age, I think that goes without saying. So, but we do want to talk about what went on with him, because again, he had quite a successful career at a young age, really struck out on his own at age 16, and really, had a very strong belief in himself, and had said that he, infinitely everything was about his belief system. However, looking at his chart, one of the main things probably that was lacking in his belief system, because again, beliefs are just things that you take on from other people that either get projected onto you. So I always want to kind of be open to changing our beliefs and reevaluating them all the time. So again, he died in January of 2008. He played quite a few very illustrious movies. I mean, besides having the Joker, The Dark Knight, I think says a lot about if we're always looking for signs in our life, just pay attention to what's going on around you, right? So the last movie he did was called The Dark Knight. He was going through some dark nights of the soul. And we're going to explain that in his chart here. So as a young man, he is from Australia and came over here. Him and his friend kind of went out at the ripe old age of 16, heading out to make it big, in their careers. And he had quite a bit of success. And I'm going to point right away to this 12-3 in his chart over here, because that is all about expansion and growth. And it's a thirst for knowledge, and having that in your talents is just so wonderful as you are growing and expanding and gaining a lot of knowledge. And it gives you this great, wonderful love aspect to it as well. But it's also all about balance. And again, all of the numbers in your chart. And if you're new to my channel, I do always put an introductory video link in the description box below, so that you can understand a little bit more background about the soul contract, how I put the charts together, what the history of it and what it means. So I'm jumping in right away because I just want to talk briefly about that, because he has a lot of messages he would like to bring forward for everybody. And so this 12-3 I wanted to bring up right away because it is such a strong energy. And it, like I said, it gave him this would have been somebody who just do. He would work on 3 movies at one time, and it was going. It's all about expansion, and the 3s are all about communicating and having this wonderful, great communicating skill as he did, and being able to reach out and connect to people through that great oral communicating and through his acting ability. So when he was a young man at about age 10, his parents got divorced. And that can be very traumatic to any child. And I see this in this chart in both of his physical karma and his spiritual karma, because we do have 2 triangles here, this physical triangle pointing to the earth, which is our physical side, and we all have a spiritual side, pointing towards the heavens here. And all of these numbers eventually start to play out for us, the physical starting out initially, and then the spiritual at some intersecting points start to become activated. And so at age 10, I want to say that this would be, because when you have things in karma, it's nothing to be afraid of. These are all of these vibrations, as I call them, energies. All numbers have positive and negative energies. And so when you pick this chart, you pick karmas that you want to have challenges brought to you, and then you have talents, things that you can overcome those challenges with, and then you have these goals, which are these ideas and nudges that get you out of bed in the morning. So there's these energies that you're always kind of working towards. Either you become more conscious of them as you get older, or you're just very unconscious of them. But he's got very tough karma in both of his physical and his spiritual aspect now. In his physical side, at the age of 10, the challenges that would have hit him from both of this would have been some issues from the feminine, losing his parents separating and causing this divide, and then having some disempowerment from the masculine side, because he's got this feminine side here. The 13-4 is all about the divine feminine, opening the heart, unconditional love, unity, conscious. And then this is a very masculine side, the energies of Archangel Michael. It's a very great flowing energy, but also is about bringing the masculine and the feminine into balance. And so we can see this playing out, and it started out again, age 10. This is when I'm getting a sense of his first real trauma that played out for him, took place with his parents' separation. And so that's, like I said, depending on how that was handled in the household, but broke him very much apart from that masculine and feminine side. So then you're given he has great talents here. This 11-2 is the builder energy. It's Venus energy. Again, it's a beautiful energy. Again, he's a very beautiful man, and he has this great, because he has a 13-4 over here in physical goals, which is all about, I said, the divine feminine, and all about this wonderful radiation of spirit, unity, consciousness, and helping needy people. So how did he do this? Well, he did that through films, right? Because of this energy, always wanting to expand, always wanting to grow and change and not stay stagnant, he always chose these very complex and difficult roles. And so that is part of where he was getting this, bringing some of these ideas like the gaze and just these challenging roles that he was playing. He would take these kind of offbeat roles. He would turn down very, like Spider-Man, he would turn down a lot of roles that people would glom onto, because he was looking for this complex diverse, some way to express himself at a deep level, whether he was aware of that or not, because this 19-1 in his spiritual goals is all about manifesting, bringing things down from the spiritual realm and manifesting that. So it gives him these great creator energies as well. So he's got all these wonderful creative energies going on. The 11-2 is all about the builder energy. 11, though, it also brings in a level of this life to death I've mentioned before. And so this can give somebody a little bit of a clouded judgment here. And so we know that he died from taking a combination of drugs. He was going through a very dark period. He was playing a very dark role, taking on a lot of very dark energies. So why did that happen? So let's talk about that. So again, so we talked about that role when his parents got divorced as a young man. And he had just separated from his wife, Michelle, and he had a small child as well. And so this accidental overdose occurred, I think, about like 5 months after his divorce. It was not long afterwards. So this is what was the trigger for him, reigniting that old trauma, bringing that back up to the surface, because we recreate a lot of patterns in our life. Because if he wasn't dealing with those things from his family, or things that, you know, is hard in our society from the masculine perspective too, which is a very masculine energy, and bringing out, again, having us talk about these traumatic events and healing from them. So if you don't get the healing, you will usually manifest something very similar in your life, so that it happens again, so that we can revisit it. So this is what was playing out for him, and what he is giving me, which was kind of the catalyst in the spiral that was going out of control. Because also in his soul destiny, he has this 15-6, and this is where the 15 is a circular motion. And so this can take him kind of around in circles. So you can get this very busy evasion of one's deepest needs from this overdoing of the 12s. You can get the 13-4 and the 10-1 are all about also about evasion of yourself. The 13 is kind of a self-destructive behavior in its karmic form, because it's a real mothering energy. And the opposite of this mothering energy is to not nurture the self, and not, you know, it's very self-destructive. And so then the 10-1s at another layer, this is all about these compulsions, and he has this going around in circles. And so this is the one is tied to the divine gateway of the mind. And so he has a 1 here in his goals as well. So he's got this duplication of the ones going on here, which would have played out heavily. And that was all about that mind. And he would have issues sleeping, only sleeping a couple hours a night, going and going and going and doing, and not getting a break from that. And that is, like I said, evading your deepest needs, the nurturing of self, being able to shut down and replenish, so that you have more to give. And he's playing this very, very, very dark character, which added another level. And because he was evading and having all of these compulsions, kind of a subconscious cravings to numb out what was going on, to stop all of this mental activity. He was going through a dark night of the soul, he was saying. A lot of people tend to work through that and start their healing journey. He didn't have that opportunity. He had some blindness coming from the 11-2s, which is, not only is this a great builder energy and is great for business and building a business and building a body of truth, but this 2 is also tied to we call it the foolishness to wisdom number, and it gives you this kind of a shadow of foolishness, of not seeing things clearly, because these are tied to the eyes, to our actual physical eyes, and the 11-2 is. So he wasn't seeing things clearly. The 19 is also tied to a lot of the Pisces energy. And for men, this can be about their minds racing and running wild. And this is what he is telling me what was going on with him. And he was, besides evading his needs and having these compulsions to get involved in some other things, whether that was alcohol. The 6s are all tied to addictions. And, he was a smoker, and was starting to have issues with drugs, and it kept that very hidden too, because a lot of people didn't know what was really going on with him. And so I just wanted to show you how this can kind of play out for somebody in their chart. And if you aren't doing some type of a spiritual practice, meditation, yoga, there's many things, and we'll get more into that when we start pulling the cards to see what he has to say about those things. But he just wanted to let you know what was going on with him, what was playing out negatively in his charts, even though, like I said, he was a very high achiever. That's the 12-3s, although he struggled initially because the 12-3s initially they're very shy, and it takes them a while to come out of their little labyrinth, their little canal, we call it, and really to shine. And the 4s too, being that he had a 4 in karma, this is all about that trusting in the flow of the abundance and trusting in God, and him not having a real spiritual practice going on is really what this soul destiny was all about. This was not meant, this was for him to actually have a lot of trials and tribulations during his life. And it was meant for him to go through all of these things so that in his next incarnation, he will be able to commit to more of a spiritual practice in his next life. So he picked this by design. I'm not saying that that's why he died at 28, although 28 adds up to 10. And I talk about 10 as being the end of a karmic cycle. It can be confusing because people can see 10s and 1s as a beginning. It also can be new beginnings, but it can also be tied to an end of a karmic cycle. And because he had 10 here, I'm not surprised to see that, because he had so much of this karma. This is a very hard karma. When you have that in spiritual, because it means in a past life he struggled with destruction of people, and this isn't a punishment for him, but this is meant for him to play out some different vibrations here, to learn and to grow from them. So it's a beautiful picture of him as well, isn't it? I just love this. That 12-3 also is just such a radiating of, he really wanted to get away from the sex symbol, but the 12-3s can also, the 3 can be tied to the sexual component and having people being very attracted to you from the sexual aspect. And then the 13-4 also draws people to you, needy people. And so a lot of people were drawn to him personally, but he really did want to get away from that. He wanted to be known more for the craft that he was doing. He didn't want to be a sex object. So even though this number he would explore all kinds of sexual aspects, and he was seeing a lot of different women, and you got to be careful because that also can throw you out of balance. And then you have this number here too, which is about balancing. So this was quite a difficult chart. He was going through the dark night of the soul. And so now we're going to talk more about what he wants to share with everyone here about that. And so the first thing he wanted me to pick from was from the Keepers of the Light Oracle. And this is tied to the angels and archangels, something that he wasn't big on in his life, but he wants to elaborate on this. So again, this is the first thing he wants to talk about. So the first card is about Master Buddha. And again, having a spiritual practice, following. And it says increased awareness, deep connection, and trusting your inner voice. Now, he talked about having great intuition. He was a good manifester with his the offers he was getting, trusting that 12-3 was giving him a great sense of self as far as being self-reliant and trusting himself. But he said there's another level, and it's again that this other inner voice that talks to you if you sit in stillness, which is what Buddha was all about, right? Sitting in stillness and listening and allowing those thoughts, however they come in and out, not attaching your story to it. You know how the mind likes to play those tricks on us about the stories the mind tells us. And he's like, he couldn't even sleep. That was going on. And he was using drugs as coping mechanisms to sleep instead of using that inner awareness and building on your inner awareness. So that's a wonderful. So the first thing we're going to go to now is these archetype cards. And so played this very dark character, the shadow. It's very important for us to work on our shadow side as well. That's a message for some people. And that's about that increased awareness and starting a spiritual practice with their. It's 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes at night, whatever you can do to just have that inner stillness, whether it's candle gazing. There's many different modalities. If you start asking the universe to show you what will work for you, then things will come to you that are right for you. So, and it's all about listening, inner awareness. Okay, so the archetype cards, this is the seeker card. So he wants to talk about being the seeker and seeking out that knowledge. He had a wonderful thirst for knowledge, and he just read up on his roles and tried to be that character. That 11-2 in his chart also takes on the dysfunctional patterns of others. So someone like Heath would have to be very careful about that, because again, it's not meant for you to become someone else and taking on their dysfunctional patterns of these roles that he was playing. So the light attribute is thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. And the shadow side is inability to commit to a path once found. So he talks about that. Again, he was on a little bit of a more gentle spiritual journey, because that 15-6 in Soul Destiny was about him trying to find the God inside and finding God on the outside as well, inside and outside. But it also can make you go around in circles, and you can get with this 12-3, he may have tinkered with learning some of it, but the 12-3s can get lost in the details, and in the 15-6, it would be, he would lose the whole concept. So it was hard for him to commit to that. That's a wonderful. Thank you for that message. I'm just listening here because he did have something to say about that, the path. And he's saying for some of our viewers, it's about exploring several different paths and keeping your mind open to the variety, not being stuck in one expressive philosophy. And again, it's challenging your beliefs, challenging those beliefs as to why you're believing something. So our next deck that he is drawing to is the Sacred Destiny deck. So relaxation. Yeah, when you have a 12-3 in your chart, relaxation can be a little bit of a trek for you. So here we've got the moon. He had the 11-2. The 2 is tied to that moon energy. And there you see he's reading a book he just loved, just couldn't get enough knowledge and learning from people. And but he wants to say how relaxation, even if it's reading at night before you go to bed, if he would have followed like a structure of meditation, again, a thought, when you have that going on and on and on in your mind, when you can't shut it down, and I've had that as well. I have some very similar numbers to Heath in my chart, so I understand that aspect of not being able to sleep, that story playing over and over in your head. And so now that I've started my meditation practice, and then I try to also do some creative writing before I fall to sleep, and just taking some downtime before bed to quiet the mind and focus on other things than what is driving you. It's actually great healing for the body to do that. So you can meditate a little bit, read something, half hour before bed, give yourself a little bit of structure. He wants to say it was something he was really lacking, was a consistent structure. My nose always itches when they give him the messages. And so, yep. So finding a structure, and it doesn't have to be every day, even if you could do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, or, you start off with some type of a structure and an intention, and then have that expand as well. So we're going to go to the Wisdom Oracle. What would you like to say? Yep. So here is, again, this breathe. Wants to talk about the breath and the importance of the breath. And this is 29, which adds up to 11. He had that wonderful 11 in talent, so he had the capacity to do these things, and he was getting some inner nudgings, but again, he wasn't following that inner guidance. And so focusing on the breath is another way to break some of the cycle of the mental patterns that are going on. So if you breathe in, and you can count to 5 in your mind, and you exhale, and you count out to 5 going out, and you just are kind of listening to the noise in the background and what you can pick up too. I find that's very helpful. So the breath is very important, and I've listened to Abraham Hicks, and Esther Hicks, and she channels Abraham, and she talks about the law of attraction. So it takes 17 seconds to break a pattern of thought. So if you can remember that, 17 seconds. And so then you bring in a positive thought. Then you breathe through that, let it go. And so then you can start to gain some control over your thoughts, because your mind is not supposed to control you. Your mind is just a tool for you to use. But in our culture, we're doers. And when you have a 12-3 like Heath had, it's just this, and then the 10-1 in that karmic aspect, it's this compulsive doing. And it's actually a distraction to keep you from your spiritual path. All the doing is just a manifested distraction. Let's see what else he's got for our viewers and what they may be dealing with out there. Watch, he's doing good on the other side. Oh, and we've got 2 cards here. This one came out in a reading not too long ago. So here we go with the first one was awakening. We're all right now, there's a lot of people going through the awakening process. So again, self-care and be kind to the self. I've had some regressions myself lately with some bad eating things coming back up, some old patterns I thought I had broken. So it's very important to be kind to yourself. And again, that's another thing. Now, all of these things that we're talking about with the mind working overtime and addictions, like Heath was starting to get into this party scene and the addictioning, which is all just a distraction from his true path. But it's all tied to the ego, because the ego is attached to suffering. So it will keep you in these very negative patterning that we call. And so this is about energetic upgrades, a new way of being and integrating. And so what else came out was protection. And this is call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval. So this is a young man who is playing with a lot of dark energy at a very dark time, which is not surprising that he was attracting those types of distractions into his life. So part is important, especially if you're a light worker and people who resonate with the spiritual practice and know that it's very important to clear your energy. It would be very important for Heath when he went home to clear his energy from working with, he was trying to be a psychopath. Did you see that my light just went out when I said that? Okay, so this is all about dark energy. And I have goosebumps now. So this is a very important message he wants to give you about cutting the cords to all of these past things that you're doing and retrieving any soul parts that that may have been you have given to somebody else mistakenly. So here he needed to cut the cords to the connection to that person that he was portraying. He needed to clear that energy. And so Kyle Gray does a great process for cutting cords and clearing energy, because a lot of people will put a protective bubble around themselves for protection, but they haven't really cleansed or cleared their energy and brought back their soul pieces. So let's just do something just off the cuff here, since Heath brought this up and it's obviously very important to him. So what can you do? It's just a simple prayer, however you want to do it, in a Buddha fashion, or you can have a little shrine with a candle, whatever works for you. And you can even just do it in your car, and just call in the light and ask. I usually work with the energies of Archangel Michael, and I also work with Archangel Metatron and Saint Germain. And I use the violet flame with Saint Germain. You may have heard of that, to burn away any karmic things that are going on. But first you want to cleanse your aura. And so you want to cut the cords. And I always have Archangel Michael, please come down and cut the cords of anyone who have attached themselves, any negative energy, any negative psychic attacks from people. As a famous person, you should be doing that on a regular basis. And so clearing those energy, cutting the cords, please. Taking some deep breaths. When you feel a little bit lighter, then you can say, Archangel Michael, bring me back to my place of light and open my heart. Bring me back to my center. Bring back any soul parts back to myself. I am whole, loving, kind, wonderful. That's who I am at a soul level. And so then once you bring yourself back to your core center, then you ask for the protection. Archangel Michael, please put a aura of protection over me. None of this has to be how someone else does it. You can make it work however you want. It's just recommended that you cut any energetic cords attached to you. You bring yourself back to who you are at a soul level, and then you put your little bubble of protection and light and love through your reading and your meditation. And I guarantee you, it will become easier and easier, like it has for me. And now I'm able to walk away from a lot more negative situations. I don't get so triggered. I'm able to let go of negative things that have happened and not take things so heavily. The ego takes things so seriously, and you can be much lighter and have much more fun. That was excellent. We really needed to hear that. So we're going to go to the secret language of light next. Thank you, Heath. That was Heath, the secret language of light. What's going? Okay. Yep. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about number 32, which is the divine masculine. And so we're going to read, he says, the book here, so I know what this is going to tie in. And again, he was struggling balancing that feminine and masculine energy. So there's something in here for you, divine. And we all have a divine feminine and a divine masculine. So the light that supports desire and inspires action is a divine masculine. Everything has its purpose. You will not always understand what the purpose of something is. However, it is someone's creation, and that is to be respected. If you don't like it, let it be the inspiration to create something more aligned with your soul's purpose. Consider all areas of your life and reevaluate any part that may not be working. You can be your own father by respecting your ideas and providing a way for them to manifest. You are a master of your own making. So now is the time to recognize your inner strength and motivation, and to be a leader of your thoughts and emotions instead of a follower. Stand your ground, regain your self-respect, pick yourself up, and dust yourself off. This is not a time to force against or try to control external forces. This is a time for disciplining the way you focus and what you think about so you can create your dreams. And so what he is talking about there is doing more conscious manifesting rather than we're all manifesting all the time, but to do things in a conscious way, in a respectful way, being able to focus. We all have that capacity no matter how our charts are set up. Yes, we do. We brought in a lot of strong energies so that we could experience them and work through them. None of that was a punishment. And he's saying to definitely use that focus that we all have, but in a very respectful way to ourselves and to others in a way that is consciously manifesting. We're going to go to an actual talking to heaven. Oh, that card didn't come out right away. So this card popped out, and I think it's very appropriate what Heath wants to say. This is our messages from heaven. So what he wants to tell you directly from his soul. If I had only known then what I know now, I would have lived differently. So if he would have remembered a lot of what he brought forth, because we all have this inner knowing, we all have other lifetimes that we can rely on. He would have lived differently, and it would have been more in regards to this conscious manifesting and understanding and respecting our own personal boundaries on this. So we're going to go to the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery deck. That top card wanted to pop right out right away. So I always take them if I can feel they really want to come out, and this one did right away. So we have number 33, the dimensional gateway. He had a 6 in his soul destiny. And so the 3 add up to 6. And so it's an invitation, the dimensional gateway. So we are going to read the invitation here. And I love the energies. So this is a message for somebody, for some of the viewers here. So please, drawing this card shows that you are standing at an important place and time on your path of destiny, one that has been created by your own past positive actions, behaviors, and thoughts. You have done much good already, helped many, and supported those who needed it. And this is acknowledged now, saying thank you to those light worker viewers who have done those good deeds. Archangel Metatron offers you a gateway to a new way of being. He is a gatekeeper to many beings of light and ascended masters who appear when called by him. One of the names Metatron is known by is the Grand Orchestrator, and he is able to call on any energy needed by anyone at any time and does so for you now. He has sent one of his angels of light to greet and welcome you, their arms outstretched and hearts open to receive and to guide you in. See the light all around this special place, blazing gold and containing wisdom, love, and enlightened space. Step into the gateway and feel the warmth from the flaming torches that purify and cleanse you, ready for your next step. Entering this gate enables you to access all the angelic kingdom that Metatron governs. This is his door and his domain, and it feels like home to you now. You are welcome to come and shelter here for a while to rest and recharge before journeying on. Through this gateway, you will find the other end of the rainbow, a pearlescent light with colors so bright your body can only bathe in their wonder, and a host of archangels and angels at Metatron's command, each as important as the other. Here exists no hierarchy, just service to the oneness and energy of love that is all there is. Step forward and reclaim your own angelic magnificence, your angel wings bestowed, and your body activated by light. Then go, do, be, and serve others. Help, support, and teach those who need this energy right now in your communities, countries, and world. Metatron has called you. His angels await. You are one of his earth angels now. Step through the golden gateway of light and into your own mastery. The time is now, and you are invited. When you leave this place, you do so able to carry more light and love than ever before back to your homes, communities, and the world that needs it. The gateway is in front of you. Step through it now. Heath is asking you to please step through the gateway. He's working on his own ascension process and helping others from the other side. That's why he came through with these messages on quieting the mind, because there's so many disturbing things going on in the atmosphere, in the political world, in all of the media and everything that's going on. And so he's really wanting you to step through that gateway, shine your light, anchor your light, because that is what we can bring into balance what is out of balance. Us 1% is all it takes of us anchoring our light, not feeding into that, spiraling that mind out of control. We, by anchoring our light, we can playing, having fun, remembering who we are at a soul level. We can be the difference. We can keep things in balance. So our final card that I'm going to choose, is there anything else before I choose the mantra, or before you select the mantra for us, I should say? He says there's a lot of people are teetering. I'm not sure what they should be doing in these times. And so again, he's emphasizing to become still, listen, perk up your antennae, he says. Be careful about feeding into that dark energy, the blame game, who's bad, who's good, that duality piece. So he's emphasizing that dark energy. We all have a shadow side, so it's important for us to also recognize our shadow side, our weaknesses, because we all have numbers in our chart and they all carry that duality. And so he says none of us are above that. And so it's very important to not to know you're working your light, but not forgetting you have that shadow side as well. And he would have definitely been working on his own shadow side, those own compulsions, addictions. Healing yourself is the best way to heal others. Remember that inner peace radiates to others. We can do it one person at a time, he's saying. So this didn't surprise me by jumping out, balancing the brain, which brings us back to our original theme, which was He had all of this stuff going on in the brain, just too much chaos, suffering from that dark night of the soul. And so the mantra, please repeat this 3 times from the Metatron. This is his healing deck. And he always advises us to say these mantras at least 3 times every time we do it over the next 3 days. So please say, I can be and do all at once. I can be and do all at once. I can be and do all at once. And I'll hold this up, and I always put the mantra down in the description box below. So this is a real important one for balancing the brain, something we're all struggling with right now in this environment. I think that sums up today's healing reading session, and thanks so much for Heath for coming to me and sharing his kindness and his exuberance about doing more spiritual healing and getting on that growing your spiritual side of the chart. So he's behind you. Call on his energy. If you are looking for answers, you can call on Archangel Metatron, Archangel Michael. They're all here. Kuan Yin wants to make her presence, as well as the Divine Feminine and Mother Mary. So I had to balance those out, I guess. So thank you again. I appreciate you being here. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. We'll be getting out more messages from other celebrities who are lining up and wanting to express themselves in these readings and get their messages that they want to share about their lives out to you, in hopes that you'll take something away and learn from their lessons as well. So thank you for this. Thank you for being here. Much love to you, and we'll see you in the next video.